Hey, hi guys, this is Abdulkarim from CodeSideAcademy.com. Today we'll be talking about URL Shortner services, how you can create your own URL Shortner services with Python and Flask. So what is URL Shortner services? Something like Bitly, something like Goo.gl, adf.ly. I will show you an example of Bitly. So Bitly is an example of URL shortener. You can see. So they have over 600 million link shortening per month for use in social network, SMS, and email. Founder Peter Stern. Today we'll be building these services by ourselves. We'll be using Python and Flask. So there is plenty of these kind of services on the internet, but we don't know how they create them. So it is simple logic. If you have been wondering how this is designed, you see how it's done, and we'll get it done today. So this is the URL, this is the platform, a URL shortener services. If I type w, let me get something like let me copy this Codeside Academy URL. I come to Bitly and I paste it. If I shorten it, it will convert it to a tiny URL, very short URL. So how is this done? And if I visit this link, it will redirect me to CodesideAcademy.com. So now let's get things done. So I have already have this custom there. This is my URL that I will be using. It was so we're able to customize, we're able to short our URL and add so many features, customize the URL, and do a lot more. Now there's many of tutorials out there on the platform on YouTube with using third-party API, but this time around we are not going to use any third-party API. We are going to develop our own URL shortener services from scratch. So let's go. So I will go to my VS Code now. I will create a new file. So I'll create a new file. I'll call this server.py. So once I have this, I need to import Flask. We'll be making use of Flask. I'll say from Flask import. From Flask. Template. So say request. We'll make use of request, and we'll make use of redirect. These are the things we'll be making use of. Make use of URL for. So now we have done this. Now we need to have a database. So I will import Flask SQL Alchemy. So from Flask SQL Alchemy, import SQL Alchemy. Then so there is a module we'll be making use of, which I will talk about it later. So we have import this, guys. So we'll be making use of this module called short-UID. Short-UID can generate a random short unique identity, just like the way we have UID. You can read more about short-UID on PyPy or PyP, whatever they call it. So this module can generate a very short text or string for us. You can limit it, you can increase it, you can do a lot of things. So first, let's render all our template so that we can have a good UI. So I'll instantiate the app object. So I'll say app equals to Flask underbar name. So I'll say db. I'll instantiate for SQL Alchemy. Then once I've done this, Let me just leave these guys for now. Let me remove this, so we will not be talking much about it for now. Let's just render the template. So I'll say at app.route. So let's just call this the index. This is the index. So I'll say diff index return render template index.html. okay, fine. So we can just call app, let me put it to debug mode, app.debug equals to true. So app.run. So once I've called this, I don't have to use if main name. You can just point to whatever you want to point to. So now I will come to my app here. I'll create a template folder where I'll put my HTML, the template in template. I'll call this template. So I'll come to my URL Shortner UI. So these are the templates we will be putting. These are the way it will look like. So let's just let me get the index.html file to my template folder, and I'll create a static folder for my JS and JavaScript. So I'll just copy these guys. I don't know, I don't think we need this, so I'll copy this. So I'll come to my YouTube channel and paste all these JS and CSS too, so where I need them. So I'll go back here and come to my template. So I need to, if I run this server now, let me try and run this YouTube. If you're on Windows, you can just hold Shift and right click to open your command prompt from your directory. So I can say python server.py. Now the server is running, so let's check it out. Okay, you can see the design is fading out, so let's include the design. So I'll come to this index so that I can point to all I need. Cloudflare. Okay, so I'll say URL, these are ginger, okay, underscore, let me use this for confusion. I can do a static and this guy also be static. Okay, so let's check if anything like that is included here. So we still have something like that here, static, and here again we'll have another static. So let's see what we are missing so we can know the next thing to point to. Okay, background, there's no image or some kind of image missing somewhere, so I need to point to static again from here. Okay, so I'm not a front-end guy, so I can't really do much in front-end, so I have to take my time and look carefully and see if I'm not missing anything out, so that we can render this template perfectly. Okay, so let's reload. You should be able to get everything that we need now. So it's fetching some stuff from the CDN. Now waiting for font googleapis.com. Okay, now we have the website, we have the template. So now we need to be able to communicate with this whenever user enter a long URL, so that this guy here can convert this to a short URL. So we need to go back to our server.py, and then the first thing we need to do is what are the things we need? First, we need a database. So I'll create a table. I'll instantiate my SQL Alchemy object. I'll say db to SQL Alchemy. So we'll need a database. We'll be able to take in the URL users are submitting, and then a unique ID for it. So you will see how this is working. Then how we can relate everything to each other. So once I've done this, I'll say class. I just have to create my database. Let me call this URLs. So now it's a db.model. Okay, so I can say ID equals to db.column bracket db.integer, and then we have primary key underbar key, primary underbar key equals to true, so that SQL Alchemy will be generating a unique identity number for each user. So we need the URL which the user will be submitting to us. You will see how this is going to work within each other. So this can be string and can be whatever you think, or whatever you want it to be. So I will just say 255. Let me just pick a random number. Okay, yeah, this is okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So we'll have short ID. What's the short ID? The short ID is the ID, a unique ID for the URL the user is submitting. So we are building this from scratch. We are not going to use any third-party API for our URL Shortner services. So I'll say db.column again. Say db.string, and can just maybe this what is okay. So we have these guys done. So we need to point to where this database will be saving to. So I can just maybe just let me see. Okay, let me say app.config. Should be some kind of list. SQL Alchemy. Alchemy, like get the spelling. Database URI. This will point to the URL, the connection string. So I'll just say equals to, we are using Sqlite, so I'll say Sqlite this /tmp. I'll put it inside a folder called tmp. I'll put the database inside a folder called tmp. So let me just call this database. Let me call this base.db. So I can just have this. Say we need a secret key. Secret on the bar key. And just give it as long as it's secret. You can give it whatever you want, just make sure it's secret. So we have these guys done. Now since we have these guys done, we need to create this database. So I will come to my let me just get a database from Sqlite. But first, let me create the TMP folder. I'll call it TMP. Or did I call it temp? Call it TMP folder. Now inside this TMP folder, I'll put this base.db. So let me create a empty db file. I think I have Sqlite Studio somewhere around here. So I'll just create this from the GUI so that it won't look bulky too. So I'll add a database, create new. So I'll go to my desktop. I'll go to my desktop. So I'll look for the folder we are working on, YouTube, then here. So I'll call this base. You can just click here for checking purposes. Now I've created the DB file called base. You can install Sqlite Studio. I'll add the link where to get it so you can install it on your computer. So we have this here now. Now I'll create the database. I'll call Python. So from server import db. So it said name app is not defined. We have been writing code since and we did not test it. So yeah, name app is not defined is the wrong approach. So I just have to bring this guy down here, down and up here. So I just have to exit. Okay, Python from server import db. The reason why we're having this, we didn't call the if main name, so we have to call the if name equals to main to avoid this kind of issue. So I'll say this so you can just pass debug equals true. Okay, now I think we should be able to work perfectly. So clear this, then call Python from server import db. Oh, there is two if statement, so I have to remove one. Okay, so since we have imported this, make sure you are in the same directory before you can do this. So I'll say I'll just call db.create underbar all no runtime found inside view function. Okay, let's see. where we are having this issue online. What is it coming from? He's saying no application found. Okay, just hold on a bit. So let's do it however. Let's just do it once again. So I'll play this. We still have the same issue. So let me see where the issue is coming from. So we have this guy correct. I have this guy correct. They're working perfectly. Okay, python-flask. Okay, here is the issue. Alright, so we can move on with our code. So I'll exit and clear. Call Python once again from server import db. Okay, now db.create _all. Okay, I think now we have successfully created the database. You can just come to your Sqlite, just connect to the database, and it says nothing. Okay, that means let's disconnect and connect once again. Wow, that is interesting. Then let's see what is going on. Anyway, this can't save into your memory, so it's just a test. This can save into your memory if it is not dictating your application, your database. It will just save into the memory automatically, but I would like to figure out what is really going on with it, why it's not doing that. And we have our tmp file. Okay, and inside our tmp file our SQL alchemy. So I think I made SQL alchemy. Database URL. I think I'm pointing to it directly. Anyway, I don't want to waste too much of time on that. It will save into the memories. So now once we have done this, so we just have to move on to the next thing. So we'll have another route. This route will be the one to take in to process, to short the URL. We'll call this route route processor, and just call it processor. So say diff process. Let's call it pro. So what will this guy do? So before we can proceed on that, we need to import short UHID. If you don't have short UHID, you can just go to your command prompt, your terminal or your command prompt, and type pip install short UHID. I've already installed it, I guess. Okay. Alright, so once you install it, your app should be able to go live. So import UHID, short UHID. So say import short UHID. So we have import short UHID now. So we need to program this our URL. So in short UHID, so each URL will have a unique ID. We'll call it a short unique ID. So we'll call it URL ID equals to short UHID dot short UUID dot random. Then we can pass in the length. So our length equals to, we just need 3 alphabet or 4. Let's just make it 4 alphabet to be generated for every single URL that user submitted. So let's just have a variable called new link. So we'll save this into the database. So before we save it into the database, we need to request the URL from the user. I mean the URL the user wants to shrink. So we said request URL equals to request dot form. So let's go into our index.html and see our form. Then let's see the name we will request for. Where is this? Okay, I don't know where it is. I'm looking for the form. Okay, now I found it. So this is the form. So where is the form closing? Alright, so type with text and name will be URL. So then we need to say action, let me say method. Say method equals to post and action equals to slash the name of this route that will process the URL the user will be submitting to the platform. So once we have done this, we can just say, then based on this name here, name URL, we'll now request for that name, call it URL. So once we have done that, I'm sorry, I need to specify the type of request this guy can only take. This guy can only take post request. This guy can only take post request. So that's all. So we'll continue on that. Then we need to save this into the database. So I'll call this new URL. New URL equals to the name of the table up there, URLs equals to URL equals to URL, which is this URL. This column here is equals to this. So I will now say comma short UID equals to URL ID. So if we have done this correctly, we should be able to get, let's just return, something. Let me return this. This should generate, with these now we will be able to generate a short URL link for the long, we'll be able to convert a long URL to a short URL. So I'll say plus, let me just concatenate. Let me concatenate let me say new link. Let me call this new link equals to URL ID URL plus URL ID. So this will just be slash new link. So if we have done this correctly and it's working perfectly, we should be able to generate a short version of URL for on our platform. So if we enter any long URL, we should be able to encrypt, make it smaller by now. So I'll just say Python run server. Okay, no bugs. So let me reload this. Okay, so let me just pick up a kind of long URL. Okay, I'm copying this long URL. So let's see what will happen if I paste it and I dress up. It's saying URL type blah blah invalid keyword argument for URLs. We made a mistake here. So it is URL, not ULR. URL. Okay, I think I get it right now. Okay, so let's do it again. Let me reload. So we are still loading. So this is the long URL. Okay, so I think we are still getting it wrong. So it's not shortening the URL. So let's see why it's not shortening the URL for us. Oh, sorry about that. We have to we don't need to put this. I made a mistake. We don't need to concatenate anything. We don't need to concatenate anything. So all we need is the new link. So we don't need to concatenate anything. Now this URL ID, the small URL ID that we have now, will change to our URL. Will change to our new URL that will be making use of the new short form of the URL that we need. So let me try and reload once again, and let me go and copy another long URL. Now let me paste it. Now this should be converted to a small URL. Okay, now we are able to shrink our URL to a very smaller URL. So now if we click this, it's not taking us to anywhere. So we want this to be taking us to the appropriate URL, not here. So we'll go back to our code. We'll add another route here that will be taking a variable. I have the route slash URL ID diff URL underbar ID. Okay, So first thing we need to do, we need to query our database. I'll call this check URL. I'll call this variable check URL equals to URLs dot query dot filter on the Power Pie. I write my filter. Okay, by short, we need to query by short ID. Okay, so we'll be querying this by short ID, short UID. Short UID will be equals to the URL that is passing through our system, through the route, through this route. The value we are getting from this route will be sent here to query the database. So we'll get the first match because the ID is supposed to be unique. Each URL that's submitted to string will have their own unique ID. So I'll say URL on the ID. You just have to pass it inside that function. So if this URL exists, if check URL is true and this URL exists, then we have to do something. We need to redirect the user to the appropriate web page. Redirect. You don't choose URL for here. We just redirect to check URL, the URL that owns this ID .url. If you don't get this logic, you can send a message directly and I will explain much, and I think this is easy to understand. So else, if this ID does not match any of the URL in the database, then that means it's the wrong URL. So we just have to return message wrong URL. Okay, now let's test our have. Once again, I'll try and oh, something has happened to my server. Say rising value. Okay, I think I'll fix that. Let me just restart. Okay, let me just restart now. I think I should be back. I think I'm not back. Oh, sorry for that. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm back now. Okay. The server is loading, fetching some bootstrap content. So now we have this guy now. So I'll get another long URL from these guys here. So I will just paste this long URL here, and then our URL shortener will shrink it for me. Now it has shrink it. Now I have it in a small form. Then I'll paste it. It says wrong URL. So let's see what's still going on. So we didn't save. So the database is still empty. So we didn't save. So we need to save now. So we'll call something here. db session.add new URL. So we'll say db.session.commit. So we have this now. We can just say your new URL is So now we have to do it all over again. So I'll paste the long URL once again. Sorry, let me get another long URL, a very long one. Once again, this one is long enough, so I'll paste this guy and dress up. Okay, your new URL is http. This is our new URL, the smaller version of what we have done. So if we click it now, you can see it redirects us back to the main URL that owns the long URL. Now this is how to create a real URL shortener, no third-party API, nothing, no string connected to it. You can build this on your own. So stay tuned for my next tutorials. I will be updating how we can now customize name, time, a URL, password, a URL, and do a lot more of features, and you'll see how we can do it. Every single services that Bitly offers in their premium account, and we'll code it from scratch using Python and Flask. So please, if you like this video, thumbs up, and please subscribe, please share my video, and visit codesiteacademy.com. All right, thank you, see you next time.